Or is going to hit on a little bit of the truth, Ingram angle.
My thoughts at the end of day 36, America in shutdown. Now,
day 36. This was done on 21st, 1,400 views.
When we started to turn the corner on this virus, we knew we would see a constant effort to blunt any good news. So media figures, politicians,
block any good news. Think about that. Block any good news, quote unquote.
And even some government officials seem far too comfortable in shutdown mode, if you can believe it. Now, Nancy Pelosi lives in a multi-million-dollar mansion in the Pacific Heights neighborhood of San Francisco. It's very nice. And then some weekends at her vineyard in Napa Valley. So do you really think Nancy minds doing her press interviews from, I don't know, her gourmet kitchen?
Speaker Pelosi, what have you found? What are you going to share with us from your home?
Chocolate.
Really?
Chocolate candy.
Oh, wow.
Now, while choosing between the lemon peach gelato and the coconut sorbet, she let small businesses desperate for relief dangling. She used their pain to extract concessions that were basically totally unrelated to helping small businesses in that PPP extension bill that the president plans on signing.
Now, the fact is she could care less about small businesses. She's going to make a lot of money on this. And that truth hasn't been told yet.
Now, of course, she's not alone. Many have played the moment for maximum political leverage and shameless self-promotion. But seriously, while there's no minimizing the horrible human tragedy of this virus, it's a lot of people and a lot of suffering, there is good news out there. The infection rate is declining in most places around the world, including in New York.
Quote unquote, the infections rate are declining around the world. And what is not being told clearly is that the infection rates were highly inflated, were half or less than what it was actually recorded because of misinformation and misreporting.
And although more than 44,000 Americans have lost their lives to COVID-19, we
knock that in half.
Have 330 million more Americans who still need to protect and reclaim theirs. Doing this requires a frank assessment of how we got here. We were told first that we had to shut everything down in order to save the healthcare system. Well, today, the only thing threatening the healthcare system is the shutdown itself. Number two, we were told that we had to lock down because we didn't have enough ventilators. Now we have more than enough ventilators. Number three, now some governors say that they can't reopen because they don't have enough tests. Well, how many? Well, some experts say we need to do 20 million tests a day. Oh, that's realistic. We're doing roughly 120,000 tests a day right now, more than any country on earth. And number four, even if governors secure the tests, they're going to claim that they can't reopen until they have an army of tracers and trackers. Well, how many do they need? One estimate says they need 300,000. Well, how long would that take to set up? Maybe, I don't know, I can't even think about how long would that take to train all those people. And our state governors prepared to pay for it all. And why should Montana have to pay the bill for Bill de Bloviator's mistakes?
We don't have them in Montana. We won't have them. This is just political crap and muscle. Civil control, government way out of control.
Five. Of course, even if we have enough tests and workers to do the contact tracing, we'll be told that we have to stay locked down until there's a vaccine. Well, even Dr. Fauci has to concede that we may never have a vaccine for this coronavirus. It's going to take a long time if we have one. SARS eventually burned out before we tested the one from mice to humans. We don't have a vaccine.
SARS tested out before we had it. The natural immune system will take care of it. I don't know why anybody's not talking about that. It's just stupid.
For HIV, but thankfully, wonderful therapies were developed to save lots of lives. The left doesn't have any intention of letting society return to normal. They never liked the old normal. Remember, Trump was elected during the old normal days. Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed to the Supreme Court during the old normal. And the Russia hoax collapsed during the normal days. Now those who've been frustrated that America hasn't evolved fast enough to progressive ends are using this crisis to change society, they hope. As Andrew Cuomo said, to remake it and to reimagine it. And right now, to frank assessment, they're winning. Millions are out of work and dependent on a government rescue.
That's the problem. The problem is the elites and the powerful in the government shouldn't be there. They are there, and they need to go.
Dr. Fauci is focusing only on the virus, not, of course, on the broader American life that must go on before the nation itself flatlines.
That's the problem. He needs to go too. This is not a whole approach, a holistic approach. Not in the whole life approach, not in the whole realistic world approach, not in a medical approach, not in an emotional or financial or any other complete area. That's the problem. This is media warfare, medical warfare, and political warfare combined for social control.
What does the president need to do now? Number one, push back against any efforts to move the goalposts. We've saved the healthcare system in New York. No one is running short of ventilators. Those were the reasons that we shut down, and they no longer apply. Number two, control the narrative on testing and tracking. Keep explaining to the press, to the governors, and to members of Congress that the U.S. government has made testing and tracking progress, and they're going to continue to. Emphasize two key points.
The problem is that the natural immune system of the bodies will have to take care of that. And we need to get our heads out of our butts.
Our efforts have been world-class, and current testing and tracking efforts are sufficient to allow significant portions of the country to reopen. Plus, they got $25 billion today for testing and tracking, the states did in the New Deal. Number three, make deals with blue state governors and mayors. The president has demonstrated time and again, this has been a great aspect of his leadership during this period, that he's willing to work with anyone and everyone to get America back to work. Keep it up. Some might act in bad faith out there, we know that, but others just want their people to get back to work, their kids back to school.
We know the kids won't be going back to school till fall, and we know that we need to be working, period. If you have 17 to 22 million unemployed, you've got a serious problem. And there are serious business problems, small business problems, that aren't going to be solved anytime soon. Being out of work, he says 36 weeks, it's a lot longer than that because it's almost 2 full months. And this is crazy. This is the end of April, started in March, if not before, and this is over 2 months. It's over 60 days. Your count is wrong.
Number four, keep working with Congress. Even when members seem unreasonable and pretty mean-spirited, take the temperature down. It's good for everybody. We've passed a series of these short-term measures that are designed to get money in people's pockets and get folks through this immediate crisis. Now we're going to need legislation that will help restart and rebuild the country.
That's for sure.
As the president said, we would look forward to phase 4, would be infrastructure. The president's been talking about infrastructure since the campaign. Roads, bridges, broadband, especially broadband now to rural America is very important. We've talked about incentives for restaurants, sports, entertainment, because these businesses have been impacted. The president has talked multiple times about a payroll tax cut.
And 5, America first now more than ever. The president was 100% correct to use his executive authority to freeze immigration during this crisis.
It would be wrong and unjust for
I'm going to end it there. We've talked about the 60 days on this.
We will become more and more protective of them. A short break from new immigration, depending on the time we're talking about, will protect the solvency of our healthcare system and provide relief to jobless Americans.
60 days.
Now, it would have been even more America first and effective, let alone more popular, if he had extended this pause to the thousands and thousands of temporary workers that come in every year. But this is an important and will be a very popular start. So are Americans going to agree with Trump? Of course they are. Nearly 8 in 10 support a pause, according to the latest USA Today Ipsos poll. Of course, the usual suspects were enraged by this move. They wanted unlimited immigration, even during a pandemic.
That's not where the problem is coming from.
These two are idiots. Passage crap.
It's like laughable. They accused Trump of xenophobia when he shut down travel from China. They're still doing it. So shame a millennial in the grocery store for not wearing a mask, but welcome asymptomatic foreign spreaders and pick up the tab. Healthcare, it's on us, the American taxpayer. That's how radical these people are on the issue of immigration. They won't even let us go to church if we're sitting 6 feet apart, but they want immigration flowing like there was never a crisis. So until the pro-lockdown folks are willing to support efforts to reopen the economy, they're in no position to insist that immigration should continue as normal. That's absurd.
We're going to end it there. There's a lot more to this than they're reporting on. This is only the tip of the iceberg. You look at medical warfare with vaccines. You look at what corporations are receiving the money. You look at who has received the money. You look at who needs to receive the money. Small businesses and other people that are above the $100,000 a month or a year because they're employers. There's so much more going on with this. The markets, the real estate, and the big business all need to be more closely looked at during this pandemic and the financial repercussions and who's profiting from this. That's the big question. And it's not being addressed anywhere in reality. Little tidbits here and there, but that is it. It's ridiculous. Who is profiting from this? It's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Wake up, America. Support conservative groups that are trying to get small businesses back. They need real support and help. Stop supporting the big corporations who are profiting from this big time.